All right. As Mel said, we're talking about Facebook fundraising today. This is a really big topic. There's so much to talk about when it comes to Facebook fundraising. It runs the gamut from the technical things you need to know to get it set up and running to how to actually run a different fundraiser on your page or for your nonprofit. And then, of course, we'll talk about how to actually get the most out of it. But we know statistically around it's something ridiculous amounts of money now, like $4 billion have been raised around the world through Facebook fundraisers. And you may not know the biggest Facebook fundraiser in the world so far actually did come out of Australia in 2020. And that was for out of control bushfires. A comedian here called Celeste Barber ran a campaign that raised about $45 million. And it's the biggest single Facebook fundraiser that has been run in the world so far, which is very exciting. All right, I'm going to get stuck into it. As Mel said, I'm really happy to take questions. Jump into chat or Q&A and let me know if there's things you don't understand or you want to ask as you go. If it's something I can quickly answer as I'm going through, I would just jump in and answer it on the spot. If not, I'll make sure I circle back to any questions I might have missed at the end. And I'm sure the amazing Killer team will point out to me if I have missed anything and let me know your questions. I'm quite happy to hang around for a little while at the end of the session, should you have more things you want to ask me as well, because there is a lot to cover in a short period of time when it comes to Facebook fundraisers. So let's not delay, let's dive in. So one of the first things you need to know is there are a couple of different types of Facebook fundraisers that you can actually run, and you may have already seen by having a look at your own kind of social media accounts on Facebook. You can run a fundraiser that's a personal fundraiser. So that's more like a GoFundMe or a personal campaign where you might be raising money for personal circumstances, maybe to pay medical bills or something like that. And of course, the other one is the non-profit fundraiser. And that's the one we're talking about today, where you can actually attach it to a particular charity or cause and raise money for them. So I'm not going to touch too much on personal fundraisers, although I can answer questions on those if you do have them. So why Facebook fundraising? In reality, in 2019, the Digital Global Giving Report showed that only 7% of people had ever made a donation using Facebook. In 2020, it was 48% of Facebook users. That's a huge shift and a massive increase in the number of people getting comfortable with and using digital fundraisers. Of course, the pandemic has been part of that because it has meant we've gotten digital really quickly and we've had to figure out how to embrace a lot of different types of digital technology. Now, the interesting thing from those stats as well is that 87% of people that donated through a Facebook fundraiser said they would do so again. In fact, we know that when people donate on Instagram, only 10% of people have donated through an Instagram fundraiser because it's only available in limited numbers of countries, but 100% said that they would do it again as well. Compared to the normal sort of donor retention rates you get outside of social media, which sit around 40%, that is absolutely huge. So what I'm going to talk about with you today is the 3 steps of Facebook fundraising. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to set it up. We're not going to go quite totally micro because there's a lot of nuts and bolts to this, but I'm going to give you a really good overview of what it looks like for somebody based in Canada. And I see a couple of you from the US as well. So we'll talk lightly about the US because it is actually a really different system in the US and Canada. Canada is much more similar to us here in Australia. So there are going to be some differences between your setup depending on where you're based. We're then going to talk about how to actually run a fundraiser on Facebook. And then I'm going to talk about how you make it successful, what it actually takes to run one that works, because that's what we want. We want it to deliver good results for you. All right, you're in the right place for this session now. If you work for a nonprofit and you want to assess whether Facebook fundraisers are going to work for you or are a good option, or maybe you've wanted to set this up for a while, but you don't know where to start. Maybe you've even already done a few Facebook fundraisers, but you're just not sure if you're doing it right or you're using it as well as you could be. So whichever one you are, today is going to answer all of those questions for you. So let's kick off with the setup side of things. So the first thing is understanding whether you're eligible for Facebook fundraisers. The best way to check is to visit the link, and maybe one of the Keeler team can share this as an actual link in chat as well. It's donations.fb.com. This is where Facebook has internationally all of their links to what can and can't be done in terms of registration. It's important to note that only one Facebook fundraising account can be attached per Facebook page, no matter where you are. So if you are in the US, there is a very different requirements to be eligible. So if you're in the US, you need to be a 501c3 organization registered with the IRS. You need a tax ID number, you need a licensed bank account, and you'll need a little bit of information about your CEO or director in order to check your eligibility. In Canada, you'll also need some of this information about your CEO or your director. You're going to need a VAT number, a charity registration number, and you're going to need a charity registration document issued by a government official, as well as your bank account details as well. So it's all about how you're eligible to apply. And you need to be registered as an official nonprofit in Canada to be eligible for the feature. Otherwise, it's not going to actually come up for you. If you're eligible, of course, it is time to celebrate, because this is an amazing feature that's going to give you the opportunity to raise money really quickly and easily from entirely new audiences. So how do you know if you are already set up for Facebook fundraisers? In Canada, there is an automatic system where a lot of you are being added automatically to the Facebook fundraiser tool through your charity registration. So you can actually go online now and check whether your organization already has this feature. So you just log onto Facebook under your normal profile, which is going to look something like this. Click on these three dots or our ellipses in the corner. It's going to pop up like this. Click support charity or support nonprofits. It does change sometimes the wording, and then search for your organization. So if you type in your organization's name and you come up, it means that people are already eligible and you are already set up to get a donation for you. So that's the first part of it. The second thing you need to know if you're in Canada, or in fact here in Australia, is that we don't actually have access to the embedded Facebook donation feature, in that they have had to plug in a third-party solution. So if you're in Australia and Canada, you will actually have to register for something called a PayPal giving fund. So PayPal giving is being used currently by Facebook in Australia, Canada, and the UK. And while you might already be set up your Facebook fundraiser, you need to actually set up for PayPal giving so you can actually receive the funds that are being donated to you. So I wanted to run through a couple of key facts about that and how that works, so you've got a little bit of an understanding about how PayPal giving works. So charities can receive money from donations made to PayPal giving fund. You can see this is just a screenshot from the website. So this applies to Australia, Canada, and the UK. Essentially, PayPal giving is set up as a charity in your zone and area, which means people still get the, receipts and things like that from PayPal as a charity. But they are making the donation through PayPal giving, and then PayPal will then disperse the funds to your organization. If you are using the non-profit fundraiser, not the personal fundraiser, the non-profit fundraiser, you will actually not be charged any fees for using this service. So Facebook does not take a percentage of the income, and neither does PayPal. It's completely fee-free, which makes it an incredible opportunity for you. Be aware that if you're using PayPal giving for some other tools, PayPal giving logs into a lot of different tools and apps. Some of them will actually still take fees, but right now PayPal giving does not take fees from Facebook fundraisers. So when and how will you actually get your money when someone fundraises for you? So they give a timeline for granting funds. It does depend on whether you're set up with PayPal giving or not. If you are, they will give you the money within 45 days of the original donation being made on Facebook. Most of my clients find they get it within 2 to 3 weeks, but the money gets dispersed monthly generally. So if you are having lots of fundraisers running all the time, you will get basically a bank deposit once a month from PayPal just drop into your account, which is pretty cool. If you are eligible for the Facebook fundraising, but you haven't set up a PayPal giving account, what PayPal will do is it'll go through its terms of use, it'll verify you're a reputable charity, all those good things, and then they will usually issue a check to you. That can take up to 90 days for the check to be sent, and then obviously you need the time to deposit cash and clear that check, so it does take a little bit longer. So I highly recommend you do set up for a PayPal Giving Fund account so you can get automatic transfers of your funds when they are raised from you online. All right, awesome. Hit me up if you've got any questions as we're going through, otherwise I'll keep moving through. So basically you go to PayPal Giving Fund, go to their landing page, and it will walk you through how to actually go and enroll. So PayPal Giving Fund Canada, if you Google PayPal Giving Fund Canada, it will talk you through the setup. As I said, if you're in the US, you do not need to register for PayPal Giving. You will register this tool directly through Facebook. You will be setting up a business account in the first instance, and that will then link you through to PayPal Giving. So there's quite a few things that PayPal Giving requires you to have to set up this account. It does change depending on what type of organization you are, but you will need some of your information about your company. So your legal trading name, your address, your your business number and official codes, your tax number, that kind of stuff. They will also often ask for business contact information as well. So you might need to provide information of your company director, CEO, or chair, including addresses, phone numbers, date of birth, some of that information as well. I know it sounds kind of strange, but they do require a lot of that information to come through. And if you're set up in a few different types of charitable structures, like a trust, you may need to provide additional information to that as well. All right, Janessa has asked, if the organization is a non-profit society and not a registered charity, are they eligible for Facebook fundraising? So you need to actually be able to take charitable donations in your country to be able to be eligible for Facebook fundraisers. If you're not registered with the tax office as being able to take charitable donations, you would not be eligible for this automatic feature. Although some of the other strategies I'm going to talk about later, you can do without using the Facebook fundraising tool, but this specifically focuses on those Facebook fundraisers. So great question, Janessa. Let me know if anyone else has anything else specific they want to ask. All right, so that's getting us set up. So from there, the next thing we need to do is, once we have an account set up, we know our charity is actually set up with Facebook Fundraiser. We can see our fundraiser option. We've got our PayPal Giving account all set up and ready to go. Then we are going to talk about how to actually run a fundraiser. You're welcome, Janessa. I'm glad that was useful for you. Awesome. Let's talk about what it takes to actually run a fundraiser. So again, let's come back to our super excited faces. The boring technical part is done. We're ready to actually set up and start running our first fundraiser. Now, this is where some people get a little bit confused with the Facebook fundraising tool, because there are quite a few different types of fundraisers you can actually create. And this is where people get a little bit lost. Sometimes we think there's only one or two, and we don't realize how many are actually available. So I wanted to talk through each of these with you. So you can have a donate button on a page. You can have a donate button on an individual post or piece of content that you're putting out. You can have a donate button embedded in paid advertising. You can have Facebook live streaming video with live donation options in it. You can have fundraisers run by your supporters. So not even your generated, they've actually just gone and set up one on your behalf. You can have a birthday fundraiser, and you can also have a donation option added to your Facebook stories. So let's take a look at what some of these different features look like. And keep those questions going if anything doesn't make sense as we go through. So first of all, let's talk about adding the donate button to your page. While this might seem like a really great option, and I know in Australia, they've actually limited this feature a lot lately, and a lot of our charities are like, oh no, we've lost our donate button. It actually isn't as significant as most people think it is. It's great to have the donate button right there at top of your Facebook page. But the reality is, most people, when they're using Facebook, rarely go and actually look at a Facebook page other than when they first like or follow you. Most of our interaction is done within our newsfeed, which means we will rarely ever see this donate button actually appear unless we're actively already looking for your charity or organization. So it's good to have, it's good for one-off donations, but unless you're getting a lot of traffic to your actual charity page, and most charities don't, then it's not going to serve you super well. I'll note you used to be able to add this button and have it send to your website where people could donate. That option is no longer available. It's only the embedded Facebook features to get the donate button now. So that has changed recently. As I said, you can add donation directly to a post. So if you are posting a piece of content as a page, as a charity, as an organization, you can embed the option for someone to make a donation directly within that post. And I'll show you some examples of this a little bit later. So any piece of content you're putting out there, it will embed automatically a CTA or a call to action to make a donation directly on that piece of content. It's designed to make it really, really easy for people to donate. And generally a post-based campaign like this, it might only be for a few $100s. It's not necessarily going to be a huge fundraiser because it's just one single piece of content. All right. Now, instead of just the one-off donation on a post as well, people can actually have the option to become an ongoing supporter now. So this is a relatively new feature that Facebook is trialing. So you can actually now choose not just to become a one-off Facebook donor, you can actually choose to become a regular giving donor through Facebook. So you can choose to opt into monthly donations, which will happen automatically. Now, considering as a society, we're now really used to monthly subscription services. We're used to paying that for Netflix or Amazon or for our accounts. This is something that more and more younger audiences are starting to embrace, the idea that they would just go through Facebook and do a monthly automatic donation to a charity of their choice. So it's a really good opportunity to try and start looking at some more regular giving as well. So it's a relatively new area. Awesome. No questions coming through. Cool. Keep pushing through. The next option is to have a Facebook live streaming video with an embedded donation button. So I think this is an enormous opportunity that very few charities or causes really do well. If you're launching a fundraiser or you're doing something big as a charity or a cause, get online, do a live streaming Facebook video, talk about it as you're launching, embed the donation button and have people donate live while you're talking. You literally could be like me here now going, oh, hi, Chantal, thanks so much for that $20 donation that just came through. I really appreciate it. We're going to use that funds for this and this. It's a really engaging opportunity. And we know right now on Facebook is that images engage people 5 times more than text. Video is twice that, and live video is up to 10 times a text-only post. So Facebook live video will organically or unpaid get pushed to more people. So that's why it's a huge opportunity to consider for your fundraisers. So consider a launch Facebook fundraiser event, an update partway through, getting some of the people or organizations or things you're helping and do different live videos to talk about it throughout your campaign. It's right there built into the platform, and I'll show you in a little while how you actually do that. And of course, there now are tools for supporters to fundraise on your behalf. These are the ones we love the most, simply because most charities and causes are time poor, resource poor, and this means other people are doing the hard work for you. So this is a huge thing for your organization to look at scaling. So this is when your advocates or your fans can actually go onto Facebook and create a fundraiser for you. So there are lots of different ways they can do this. So if you have people who are really connected to your cause, you can ask them to run their own fundraiser that is connected to your organization. As I said, personal circumstances fundraisers, they can raise money for themselves, or they can do a non-profit fundraiser and connect it to your charity. Again, they are different. So here's an example. There's the birthday fundraisers. Statistics show us around 50% of all Facebook donations internationally are coming from birthday fundraisers. One of the main reasons this is happening is because Facebook actually prompts you 2 weeks before your birthday. It says your birthday's coming up. Would you like to run a fundraiser for a charity? for your birthday. So a lot of people are going, yeah, okay, why not? I'll go through and pick an organization that I think could be a good fit, and I'm going to do a little fundraiser. They may raise $50. They may raise $200. They may raise $400 or $500. The reality is, if a lot of your community are doing birthday fundraisers on a regular basis, it can become a really incredible income source. When this takes off for you, it can really, really take off. And there really is no limit to the number of people who can be fundraising for you at one time. So for example, one of the other really strong things as well is that content often will get referred to me then by friends, because rather than you as a page setting it up, a friend has set it up. It's more likely to show up higher in my feed because of that. And I have a lot of clients around the world now who are getting passive monthly income without having to do an awful lot other than remind people regularly how to set up birthday fundraisers through their social content. All right, once you have fundraisers set up, you can also add a sticker to your Facebook stories as a way to attract individual donations, like your post. So you do a normal Facebook stories, you go to stickers, and you will see that there is a donation-based sticker. So you can actually go in and create a donation button that just sits over the top, and same as the post, you can set a goal and have people click directly in that Facebook story to make a donation. I'm not seeing this being used a lot by people yet, but it is an option, and Facebook stories is getting over 500 million views per day. So there is a big opportunity here. All right. Question from Michelle: when supporters do a fundraiser for us, we get the dollars just fine, but Facebook doesn't tell us who did the fundraiser nor who made the individual donations. Is there a way to get that information from Facebook? Now, you make a really good point, Michelle. So there are a lot of privacy links and issues around this. So Facebook's been really criticized over the last couple of years about privacy concerns and trust. So one of the things Facebook has done with the fundraiser feature is they have limited this information. Now, the thing is, if someone's doing a birthday fundraiser or a supporter is doing a fundraiser for you, that is connected to your Facebook page. You can go in at any time. Even me as a public person, I could go and look at your page right now, and I could look at all the fundraisers that are currently attached to your account. So there is nothing stopping you from actually monitoring that and going in as your page and commenting on every single person's fundraiser and going, thank you so much. This is where the money is going to go. This is what it means to us. You could be commenting when anyone comments, goes, I've donated. You could be commenting back to them going, thank you. It's really appreciated. We're so excited. You can engage with that kind of content. You also, through PayPal Giving, there is an option with PayPal Giving where you can actually go in and view where your funds have come from. Now, while you might not get individual names, what you will get is the code and account of the actual fundraiser that was run. So it might come up as, Tom's, people eater party fundraiser. You can then go onto Facebook and just search Tom's Purple Party People Eater fundraiser, and you'll find the fundraiser, and then you'll be able to go in and interact with them and engage with them. But at the moment, there is no option to retarget people that way. So what we really encourage you to do is actually instead to focus on driving new donations all the time, nurturing a really strong and engaged social media community so people will automatically come back and donate again. While people are concerned that it means regular giving is going to be damaged, remember those stats that say that 86% of people who've donated through a Facebook fundraiser are doing it again. We are seeing statistically that people will come back and again to an existing fundraiser, and they will continue to support you. So unlike having an email address, you can't necessarily follow them up, but there are still options to see some of that data. It is a little bit limiting at the moment, but I do suspect in the future there will be a paid advertising option where you'll be able to target people who have been past charitable donors, because it's going to be another income source for Facebook. So it is bound to come at some point. All right. Love that. Great question. Okay. Now, let's have a little bit of a look at some of these features and how we actually use them, because that's where some of you might get stuck. You might love all these ideas I've just given you, but not know how to actually create them. So I just want to quickly show you a few types of fundraising posts and how you actually go about creating them. So let's have a look at that. So I talked about the fact you can embed the donation feature in an individual Facebook post. So let's start with that. So this is the exact same process I talked you through before about how to check if you're set up for the Facebook fundraiser tools. The only difference is we are doing it for a page now. So let's quickly walk through it. So again, we go to the ellipses or 3 dots in your post box. It will pop up with my post. So I'll write the copy in my post, etc. You'll see I have the support nonprofit button here, or support charity button. It's slightly different on different accounts. Then I choose the nonprofit. So I just type in the name and they'll come up. Yes, Facebook will automatically suggest some nonprofits to you. They could be the biggest ones in your area. They're often the ones who are running the most fundraisers, tend to come up the most often, closest to the top of the list we found. And of course, ones that you follow will show up higher in the list as well. But anyone can find you. They just need to search for your organization's name. And that will then appear. So in this case, I'm doing the page for William Campbell Foundation. So I've typed William. You can now see William Campbell Foundation's coming up as my second option. I've then clicked on that. Just so you know, at the moment, you can't change the name that your fundraising organization is attached as. It's going to reflect the name that you're registered under your official tax body or corporation in your country. So in Australia, if I'm registered with the ANCNC, Australian Charities and Not-for-Profit Commission, is William Campbell Foundation, that information is automatically going to draw into Facebook, and that's how I can be found. So if you're having trouble, do have a look at how you're registered with the charity body and with the tax department, because the name may be slightly different to what you use for your commercial trading. So have a look at that. Once I've done it correctly, this is how it's going to appear. It's going to have this little raising money for William Campbell Foundation now at the bottom of my post. I write my post like normal and then post it in my normal feed. So done. You could do this on every single post if you wanted, although I wouldn't recommend it. I would definitely only do it every so often. Otherwise, people get kind of fatigued about it and will stop making donations. So test the frequency and figure out what works best for you. Generally, out of the options I'm exploring now, this is one of the less effective options. It's good for getting little bits of quick wins. If you just need to raise $100 for something really specific, that can work well. But if you're looking at driving really significant income, it's probably not going to be the best channel for you. Okay. Brian's asking, does Facebook or PayPal Giving Fund Canada retarget donors for other purposes? I'm not quite sure what you mean about retarget, as in, do they contact them again and ask them for other things? As far as I know, there's never been any kind of crossover with that. So Facebook won't then send Joe a message to say you've donated to this charity, so now you should donate to this one. I've never seen that happen. Obviously, it will give Facebook an indication they're more likely to be a donor and will give them some information about their activity, but they're not going to keep getting pestered by Facebook or PayPal Giving for more donations or get retargeted for a different charity, for example. Good question. All right. I'm just looking at the chat. Alina said, to clarify, is there no way for a Facebook donor to opt into sharing their contact info? There is. Facebook donors can absolutely opt in and share their details through the PayPal giving system. The reality is 99% of people are opting out. So the default is to opt out, and you have to choose to provide your personal information at the point of donation, and people just aren't really doing it. There is definitely an option there. They're just not using it. So great question. All right. Awesome. Let's keep going. So let's look at the fundraisers by supporters. So when people want to fundraise for you, so they can go in and create their own fundraiser. So this is when an advocate or a fan or someone in your community can set up their own fundraiser on their feed for you. So this could be a birthday fundraiser. This could be just this organization's amazing, I want to give back to them, they just supported me. All the funds are automatically connected to your charity or cause. The money cannot be taken by that individual person. Otherwise, it would be a personal circumstances fundraiser. If it's connected to your account, there is no way for that fundraiser to take that money. It will come directly to you. So I know people get a little bit nervous about that. So just so you're aware. So here's another way that they can do it. So if you have a look at your page again, if now we're looking at the 3 ellipses at the top next to our share button, you can see the arrow gives us a drop-down menu. We now have create fundraiser. So same thing, I can search, but because I've done this through the page, it's automatically going to fill it in as the page who I wanted to create a fundraiser for. So it's automatically connected it as William Campbell Foundation for me. So I've just chosen and clicked on that. Now I'm getting a little bit of a different module. This is when we can actually do a dedicated fundraiser with a target and more information rather than our post, which is just how much people have donated. This is when we can actually do a proper fundraiser with goals and targets. Now, we did have these available for a while where causes could do them for themselves, but at the moment, Facebook are not letting us run these. So you need to go through this and complete the information. So add the amount that you want to raise. Now, generally, the rule of thumb is don't go crazy, particularly not for the first time you do this. You can always adjust your target up. Think about what you think realistically you can raise. Maybe set your target at 80% of that. Research shows that fundraisers start to do better as they get closer to achieving their goals. So you want it to look like you're nearly there, because that's when more and more people start donating, because they want to be the one that just gets you to that goal. You also have to choose an end date for your campaign as well, and then click next. Then you have the option here to give more information. The most important thing they do here is by saying, tell your story. They're not saying fill in your information. They're telling you to tell a story. So this is when you need to bring out your storytelling skills. What is the story? What's this fundraiser for? Think about a few key things here. Why are you actually doing it? Why does it actually matter? Where is the money going? You know, build up pain points. People need to know that this money is actually necessary and needed and is going to go on to do something amazing and good in order for them to make it happen. So include your information here and then click next. Okay, now you've got the option to add an evocative image or even better, a video. Faces connect with people more than any other type of image, so I encourage you to use faces where possible. Yes, animal faces are just as good as human faces. And think about what represents you best and what's going to create an emotional connection. If it's a video, make sure it's a tailored video where you tell the story of your campaign, why and how people can help and why it matters. Now click create and your fundraiser is all set up and ready to start sharing. So this fundraiser is now officially up and live. You can then share that fundraiser across your timeline and other people can share it as well. And you can just grab that as a share, like this organization saved my child's life. They can share personal stories and they can share this fundraiser multiple times across their feed with new posts. Of course, as I mentioned before, there's another way to do a fundraiser, and that's as an individual, and it's called a personal circumstances fundraiser. So you can see here, there's 2 options: raise money for a charity, raise money for yourself, a friend, or a business. So we're talking about select the charity fundraiser, not the other one. Now, if you don't meet the eligibility requirements of a charity, so sorry, I've forgotten the name of the woman who asked about it before, you could do a personal circumstances fundraiser then as a business or an individual. There is a fee for this, so there is a percentage of your income that will go to them, but you definitely can run that. Less people probably support them than the charity ones, but it is still worth a try. So again, when we're doing these, if we went through this method, exactly the same, we want to raise it for a charity, we find the charity we want to choose, we then go through those same basics again, we set our criteria, we set our images, etc. So there's a few different ways to do this. You can go to facebook.com/fundraisers and that will take you to that direct page and you'll be able to have a look at existing fundraisers as well as the ones that other people are doing and set up your own. All right, let's keep going. All right. This is what a completed fundraiser looks like. So this is Ray's birthday fundraiser for the Leukemia Foundation. You can see how much time is left, how many people have been invited to participate. And if I scroll down, I can see the organization that it's actually benefiting, where they're based. I can click for more information on that cause. I can see people commenting. I can see people who've donated. And this is where, as an organization, it's worth keeping an eye on these, because you can go in and start interacting and commenting with this fundraiser as well. You can also see some frequently asked questions, which will talk about how your charity or cause receives the money, taxes, fees, all that kind of stuff. That's naturally embedded in this tool. You don't need to add it. Now, all you need to do is spread the word and share the fundraiser far and wide. Now, we also mentioned you can do a fundraising live video. Let's quickly have a look at that one. So I showed you this. We know that Facebook Live, the reach is epic. Live gets 10 times more reach than any other type of post. So if you're looking for organic or unpaid reach, Facebook Live is a great opportunity for you. Same thing. So you go to your page. It's exactly the same as running a normal Facebook Live. So you click on the live button. If you don't know what a live means, it basically just means it's a live streaming video. So right now, me talking to screen, it's not uploading a pre-recorded video. It's just me getting in front of the camera and talking. That's what a Facebook Live is. So excuse my face here as I took a few screenshots to show you. I'm in concentration mode. But you can see here, once I've brought that up, this is what it looks like. You can see here, there's a little grayed out icon. It's the same one as the support nonprofit or support charity. A lot of people miss it or don't know what it is. If you click on that, it brings up this same option to search for your charity or cause you want to support. So type that in and select the right one. Again, it will add this automatically embedded donation option live within your video, and you can live stream this now with the option for people to donate to you live while you're speaking, which is pretty cool. You can also do this from a mobile phone as well. It doesn't have to be from the desktop. So same thing, go photo, live, choose that icon, add your donate button, etc. All right, now I just wanted to touch on quickly fundraising on Instagram, because there are some different ways you can fundraise. Most of you probably know that Instagram is owned by Facebook and they are quite connected. So there are now options, charitable giving tools through an Instagram account. These are available in the US and Canada, not to us here in Australia, unfortunately yet, but these do exist. This is how you can add a donate button to your nonprofit's Instagram business account. So you need to be registered on Instagram as a business account, as a nonprofit. So you tap on your profile picture, go to your 3 lines, go to settings, tap business, then tap donations, and then you add donate button to your profile. You may need to update your app if this isn't coming through for you. It's not available for everyone yet, but it is becoming more widely available. So you can see this example here. Now what this charity can do is they can actually add donation stickers to their Instagram stories. So when they're doing an Instagram story, they can actually add a donate embedded sticker straight there into the Instagram stories, which is pretty cool. No, sorry, I've got a note here. So Canada currently doesn't have the embedded donation feature. US does, but it is coming soon to Canada and Australia, we are hearing. So they are on their way. We just don't have this feature yet, but I think it's good to know that it is coming and that it does exist. If you're based in the US, I saw we had someone from Florida, you will have access to this feature already. All right. Is there any way to connect these Facebook fundraising tools to a specific campaign at your charity you are fundraising for, or is that a back-end thing to do, manually moving the money after the fact? So good question. So there isn't a direct way as such. So these are kind of campaigns on their own. You can absolutely, so if you were doing the Lights for Lifeline campaign, I would, when I embed it in your Facebook Live, when I embedded it in my post, I would be talking about the Lights for Lifeline campaign. I'd be saying this is raising money for that, or my end of financial year, or tax appeal, or Christmas campaign, or whatever it is. but it is still going to go through the same physical process of the money being raised through Facebook, it going through PayPal Giving, it getting deposited into the set account you've nominated. So then it would be a case of you having to then allocate and work out where that's come from later in your system. So hopefully that makes sense. There's not any other way to sort of subcategorize different campaigns other than setting up that fixed fundraiser with a set donation goal, because then it will be itemized separately in your PayPal Giving account. Great questions. All right, anybody else? Nothing else there at the moment? Awesome. So now let's talk for our last few minutes about what it takes to make a Facebook fundraiser successful. It's one thing to set it up and it's one thing to create them, and it's another to actually make it work for you. So let's just look at some examples of what's working, and I'll talk a few tips about what is going to help you get the best results from it. And then I can take any other questions at the end. Now, this is a screenshot from one of my team's personal Facebook accounts. One of the things we've discovered is that Facebook really does prioritize content from donations. So this one actually popped up in her feed, and Jane, her friend, is actually someone she hadn't seen a post with on Facebook for a really long time. She'd kind of forgotten about Jane. But the second Jane did a personal Facebook fundraiser for a charity and asked for donations, it actually came up right at the top of her newsfeed as soon as she logged into Facebook. So someone she's not super close to, the content still appeared in her feed. So it shows us that Facebook really is prioritizing these kind of donation campaigns with the algorithm. Now, when we want to run a successful Facebook fundraising campaign, one of the keys is to add as much emotion as possible. Get into the pain points. What would happen if your organization didn't exist? How are the people, animals, environment, whoever you're supporting, how are they suffering? What are you trying to change? Talk about the happiness and the opportunities and the motivation. The bigger the feeling, the better. Don't try to be professional here. You'll just come across corporate and dry and won't engage with people. We really want our Facebook fundraisers to tug on people's heartstrings. People need to know the why and the how of how they help. Let's look at a quick example. This was one of my clients. So they did a couple of post-based fundraisers before they worked with us. They kept it really, really simple. You can see here the very first one they did, they raised $130. The second one, they raised $427. These were good outcomes for them. But you can see even the difference between these here. One is a video versus one is images. Video is definitely getting more money raised than any other type of fundraiser right now. It's more engaging. It can tell a longer story and introduce much more emotion. In fact, that video example I just showed you went viral. The client still receives random international donations off that post. And we're talking about it being a year or more older. So that one story really makes a big difference. So it only takes one post to do well, or one hit, or one success story for this to make a huge difference for your organization. It doesn't matter they didn't see the 100 before you did that one, as long as you've got one that works. There is a lot of potential of money you can raise from this tool. So Save the Children in the US raised more than $7.5 million over 2 years, which helped 6.5 million children in crisis across 60 countries. Just from Facebook fundraisers. So how did they do that? If you look at Save the Children's Facebook page, you can see how many people are running birthday fundraisers for them right now. The list keeps going and going and going. So how do they get so many people doing birthday fundraisers in their name? They are really good at this. They do posts regularly in their content with little emotional videos talking about, what's your birthday wish this year? How are you going to do this? And it just talks them through why they want you to do a birthday fundraiser for them and how you actually do it. This is the reason they get so many people doing it, because they tell them they want them to do it. It's amazing how many of us forget to do that. So tell people you need to fundraise. Show them how to do a fundraiser for you. Help them understand why it would be beneficial, and also make sure that you help include them in the celebration of the success as well. I love one of the things that Save the Children does. They always have happy, smiling faces in their pictures when they're talking about their wins and their programs and the things they're creating. So every time I donate to them, I see these amazing, happy outcomes afterwards. And I think, wow, I did a good thing by supporting them. And as I mentioned earlier, put a face on your campaigns wherever possible. Having an actual eye contact makes a huge difference. In fact, when you think about it as children, we're always taught when someone speaks to you, what's the first thing you do? You look at them. You look someone in their face when they're speaking to you. So we're actually trained to stop and pay attention to eye contact. So when we're scrolling through a news feed and there's travel photos and food, we actually hesitate naturally on something that creates eye contact almost automatically. Now let's have a look at an example here. The Marine Mammal Centre, which is the world's largest marine mammal veterinary hospital, they raised over $30,000 to pay for 15 tonnes of herring, enough to feed all the seals and sea lions patients for over 2 months. Again, I stopped counting how many individual fundraisers this organisation had running when I had passed 60. Can you imagine that, having like 100 people at a time raising money for you without you having to do any work at all? Obviously, this is the ideal scenario. One of the things I love that they do really, really well is not only are we seeing these really emotional faces and that connection, we also see a lot of the before and after stories. So they're really, really good at showing us this is where the animal was and what it was like. This is how they are now, thanks to your amazing support and the work we've done with our veterinary hospital. The posts are really emotional, they're really endearing, and it's very clear for the user where your donation is actually going and what the money is doing. My money is supporting the seals with the beautiful big sad eyes. All right, another top tip is be real and authentic with people. Use friendly everyday language. Use emojis. You can see in those last examples how many of them included emojis. Be relatable, be human, and really think about what motivates people to support the cause. Now, just a little bit of an insight into PayPal Giving Fund. We asked before about what you can see in terms of information. Here's some screenshots from a couple of my clients' accounts. So we can see the individual fundraisers that are run here and the amounts that have been transferred through to them. You can actually expand on that. You'll see here, people have opted donor name to be anonymous. But we can actually see, when we dig into this, campaign title, the code, and the name, like I mentioned before. So what I can then do is I can search for that campaign, I can comment on it, and I can comment on anybody who has donated to that campaign, and they're likely to see my message in their feed. So we can get a little bit more information there, and we can see how much each individual donor gave as part of that campaign. Awesome. All right, let's just quickly go through some campaign best practices so you have some last tips to leave you with for creating your Facebook fundraiser. All right, you need to make sure your Facebook fundraisers are super clear on what your cause is. You might think it's obvious. It's not always obvious, particularly when it's surrounded by hundreds of other posts in Facebook. Why people should actually care about your cause might be clear to you, might not be for them. And what your donation is actually going to help the organization to achieve. Don't forget, just because it's a Facebook fundraiser doesn't mean that's the only place you can talk about that campaign in. You can do shout outs when people donate and include it in your Instagram stories going, Amy's just made a $100 donation on our Facebook fundraiser. Thanks so much, Amy. Go and check out our Facebook page if you want to find it. You can send it out in EDMs or email marketing to let people know that your Facebook fundraiser is running. You can send out an EDM encouraging people to fundraise for your birthday, for their birthdays. You could put a sign in your reception about your campaign you're running. The more you spread the word, the more successful it's going to be. Actively encourage people by interacting with them, sharing content. You know, can you actively ask all your volunteers to go and share a fundraiser campaign to their audiences? Can you ask past donors or staff? And also, of course, make sure you comment, like, get interacting. When people are saying they're donating on these campaigns, make sure you're engaging with them as well, because that's going to increase the organic reach of those posts and only going to bring in more money. Make sure you celebrate with people and share the milestones and the wins. You know, for example, we've just hit the $100 mark in our campaign. We're super excited. That $100 is going to feed this seal for a week, provide 7 blankets to these underprivileged children, or pay, 30 minutes of a scientist researching a cure for childhood brain cancer. Show people what that money actually meant in the real world. You could do this through a Facebook Live, or also with a donation post, or nearly any other type of post, but make sure people know that they're appreciated. My other big tip here, do not just let your campaign just come to a stop. It's probably one of the biggest mistakes. Take people on a campaign journey. As it comes to an end, whether or not you hit your fundraising target, share that with your audience. Thank them, the people who did support you. Show them where the funds are going to go. Share posts over the coming weeks and months showing the benefit and the flow-on impact of the money they've donated. Make those donors feel valued. Make them see the results. And then when next time you do one, you're going to get more and more people supporting you, because they're like, oh, I missed that last campaign. I totally would have supported that. Make sure you keep talking to people about what you're doing over and over. All right. Here's how you implement on today's class before I jump into questions. So check if you are set up with Facebook fundraising, first of all, see if these features are available to you. Register and set up your account based on your location and area's rules. Come up with an idea, create your first fundraiser, test and optimize a lot of different times so you can work out what works and what doesn't, and keep repeating it. So we've gone through 3 different steps in this class. We've talked about the setup, we've talked about running a fundraiser, and we've talked about how to make it successful. So quite a lot of stuff there. We have a few more minutes, so I'm happy to go through some more questions with anybody who has other things they want to ask. I see a few more are coming through. But thank you all so much for your attention. I've really enjoyed going through all of this with you. I have to emphatically say, like, Facebook fundraisers are going to be the way of the future. In fact, I had the pleasure of meeting Jenna, the head of Facebook nonprofits, when I was in the US a few years ago. And she told me the research had shown that 80% of the people under the age of 25 had only ever donated through social media. That is going to start shifting the face of fundraising around the world, because as those 25-year-olds become 35-year-olds and 40-year-olds, they become the peak donor group. And it's the only way they know how to donate and support. So if you're not embracing Facebook fundraising now and getting digital with your campaigns, you're going to find maybe some of the stuff that's working for you now that's offline doesn't work as well in a few years. So now's the chance to embrace this and start doing it well. If you want any more help or support from me and my team, please reach out to us. If you've got questions after the session, you can email them through to me at wow@hancockcreative.com.au. You can obviously find Hancock Creative on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of the accounts, as you can imagine. We have a free Facebook group called Change the World. And if you are interested in getting more training on social media for charities, we actually have just launched our free Change the World USA conference, which will be happening in, I think it's 5 weeks' time. It's going to be 4 hours of social media training, totally free for charities and causes. So if you would like those details, I can share them with Mel and the team, and we can pop that link out to all of you as well if you're interested in coming along. Otherwise, if you need anything else, let me know. Otherwise, I will jump over questions.
Thank you so much, Alecia. Sorry, I just want to interrupt. That was amazing. And you crammed so much into that session. I'm absolutely flabbergasted. So thank you. Sorry, yes, back to questions.
No worries. And look, I would love to know what everyone thought of the session. Love to get feedback in chat. I'd love to know what your big takeaways were, or if there's anything particular stood out, particularly doing things virtually. It's always so nice to know what resonated, what stood out. If you found it useful, I would love to hear what you thought, and pop that into chat for me.
We
and
also,
of course, I can answer questions.
Yeah, Alecia, we also have a survey that pops up as soon as this session's over, and it's only a 3-question survey, super quick, 20 seconds. So yes, you can also pop your thoughts into there as well.
Amazing. I would love to see the results of that.
Yes.
So let me just check on questions. So Brian has said, so donors can opt into being identified for future donor development rather than being anonymous. They can opt in to be identified, absolutely. There's still not a lot of ways how you can really nurture them in future other than to see who they were and potentially message them and see if they want to be added to your donor email database or something like that. But they definitely can opt in, but just very few people do. Sandra, can you register for a Facebook fundraising account and fundraise in the future? Yes, definitely. So you may already have one set up and not even realize it, because a lot of it is pulling in data automatically from your charity registration anyway. Just because you have one doesn't mean you need to use it, but if it's sitting there, who knows? Maybe one of your followers or supporters might run a fundraiser for you. And even if you don't have PayPal giving, PayPal will eventually send you a check for the money. So it is still worth setting it up at any point, even if you're not really actively using it.